So everybody's enamored by Overwatch. Game reviewers are giving it 10 out of 10s, and that's all well deserved, which is proven by the fact that I'm absolutely terrible at the game and still enjoy it. But I've noticed some discrepancies when it comes to the power of characters. Everybody else seems to be using way better versions of the characters I'm trying to use, while I flounder and fail miserably. I know I'm not the only one who feels like this sometimes. Let me give you an inordinate amount of examples going through every character in this frustratingly perfect game. Let's start with Genji. Genji's a master ninja with very useful abilities, at least when other people use them. Swift Strike is pretty normal and non-fluctuating, but Deflect is another story. When other people use Deflect, they can reflect the one bullet I shot at them back at me, and telekinetically maneuver it through my entire body, piercing every single vital organ for an instant death. When I use Deflect, I can reflect one bullet out of the 60 that were shot at me, directly into the attacker's right toenail for minimum damage, and in my case, still instant death. When other people use Dragon Blade, they can slice me in half without even facing my general direction, while also being 100 yards away. When I use Dragon Blade, I feel like I'm chopping down a tree with a toothpick that has been whittled in such a way as to make it as perfectly dull as possible. When other people jump around with Genji to dodge my attacks, they succeed with such absolute effectiveness that I wonder if I should bother shooting at all. When I jump around with Genji, I land directly in front of grenades, and a stray rocket Pharah shot at the person behind me from halfway across the map. Moving on to McCree. Combat roll is pretty nifty all around for its instant reload, but a little known fact is that it can also be used to turn a charged Hanzo arrow aimed at your feet into a one-hit headshot if you nail the timing just right. When my opponents use Flashbang, I'd be stunned until next Easter if it weren't for the automatic death that comes afterwards. When I use Flashbang, my opponents are stunned for a little less time than it takes to blink, and are immediately free to kill me by any means at their disposal. Deadeye is a terrific ultimate for my opponents to use, in order to hit me from behind walls and through 3 different characters' barriers, but when I press triangle, it can and will be blocked by a stray leaf blowing in the wind, or by the targeting system taking longer to lock on than the time I have to shoot my gun. Oh, and Wildfire? When enemies use it, every shot magically homes into my head, but when I use it, my bullets travel backwards in the opposite direction with such recoil that I develop motion sickness. Pharah doesn't have many discrepancies, although when my opponent uses Concussive Blast, you better believe I'm headed off the nearest cliff, even if I have to navigate around 3 corners of a building to get there. Barrage is a great triangle for me to use if I feel like doing 20 damage to each member of the enemy team, as opposed to the team-killing enemy Pharahs seem to specialize in. Oh, and how are they staying in the air so long? My jetpack runs on AAA batteries. I can fly about as well as Buzz Lightyear, but these other bitches siphon fuel from a UFO. Reaper. I could be standing with my back against a wall and he'd still flank me, but if I ever flank anyone else, they can sense my presence and annihilate me without even turning around. For me, Death Blossom is a great triangle to use in the middle of a crowd if I want to become pudding before I get 2 shots off, but enemy Reapers take 100% reduced damage when using this move. And don't forget that a shotgun blast to the face deals 200 damage even if your face happens to be miles away and behind the payload. Soldier 76 is actually alright to go up against. Does his tactical visor grant him the ability to shoot around corners and at your entire team at once? Yes. But the silver lining is that his cooldown for this move is very long, averaging about 5 seconds. Tracer is so great. When enemies use her, she is impossible to hit because she can blink an unlimited amount of times and recall back to full health while her pistols wreck you in one clip. When I use her, I am impossible not to hit, as people's bullets instinctively aim for wherever blink is going to make me end up, and recall restores about 3 of my health, while my pistols at point-blank range have the impact of a sick toddler's weakly clenched fist. Tracer's ass works against her when I play, as the standout target is riddled with bullets in an instant, even when being shot from the front somehow. But luckily you can't use her ultimate without first being close enough to kiss your opponent. But once you do, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the 2-inch blast radius. You earned it. Bastion's usefulness has died out by this point. Everyone knows how to counter him now, and most characters can. That won't stop him from getting every single play of the game, even in games he isn't in, but between getting pulled, knocked back, stunned, flanked, and sniped, Bastion has a hard time, so I don't think he's even that bullshit of a character anymore, and I do a good job killing the ones I meet. Hanzo, on the other hand, is very discrepancy. Scatter Arrow is a great skill to use when you want the accuracy of a dozen arrows with the raw power of a broken one, but for your enemies, each scatter shot is trained to seek out and penetrate its target for maximum damage. I'm always a fan of Dragon Strike. The idea of shooting it at an enemy swamped objective and damaging everyone but getting no kills really appeals to me on an emotional level. But when foe Hanzo launches it, it travels back and forth across the whole map 4 times before exploding in a battlefield-wide unavoidable AoE. A fully charged normal arrow shot will do about 600 damage to a tank character, at least when I'm the tank character. If I'm Hanzo in that situation, it plays out more like an Avatar, when they try bouncing arrows off the human's big VTOL and the general's like, "You gotta be kidding me." Junkrat is powerful. Doesn't matter who's using him. I know that's not what you want to hear in this video, but I can't fight the truth. He's a demolisher who blows people away with his OP grenades and ridiculously forceful knockback mines. Beware. Also, you're going to hear "fire in the hole" about 17 times a match if Junkrat is in it, because that exploding tire has no cooldown to speak of and is strong as hell. Mei is a little bitch. The tried and true method of freezing your enemies with the spray and then finishing them off with icicle spears is universal, and her ice wall does a great job of annoying you for a second, but anyone who can become invincible and heal at the same time does not deserve waifu status on the opposing team. Torbjorn is a fat dwarf with turrets of variable effectiveness. Enemy turrets could have withstood the nukes dropped on Hiroshima and then fired through the radiation cloud to murder you, while my turrets are like a house of cards balanced precariously on a table in the middle of a tornado. If my left toenail is in view on the opposite side of the map, that turret is going to shoot it off. Forget those lava jizz stains that come out of its gun. They only do damage if the game makes sure that PSN ID comic inertia isn't the one firing them. When I am Torbjorn, the game is a simple game of build a turret in an open location and watch it get immediately destroyed, then build it somewhere more discreet and get it immediately destroyed again. Then out of sheer frustration, build it in the back of my spawn area and watch it still get blown up somehow. Widowmaker is a sniper that is extremely precise when aiming exactly 1 inch to the right of her target. Whenever my crosshairs are hovering over someone, I get a localized earthquake that starts at my fingertips and doesn't let up shaking until I've been sniped by another Widowmaker. This is neither here nor there, but her grappling hook has a 12-second cooldown, and that's bullshit. Even if it had no cooldown, she'd hardly be Spider-Man. I feel like you can give us some more frequent usage out of a thing that has a habit of pulling up to a railing and then letting me fall instead of hoisting me over. Oh, while we're nitpicking the game, how about not kicking me out of the practice range every 10 minutes? It always gives me the message, "Game lasted too long." Oh yeah, at whose expense? The training bots? I'm trying to research characters here. D.Va's fusion cannons have very short range, unless you're up against one, of course. But the real problem is self-destruct. This goddamn move blows everybody away. Doesn't matter if you booked a full sprint in the opposite direction after it started its countdown, you're getting caught in the blast. As is the entire map, as is all the other maps you're not even playing on. When an opposing D.Va's mech is destroyed, she somehow becomes even more threatening. But when yours is destroyed, you run around like a chicken with its head cut off, with about the same amount of damage potential. Reinhardt's a beast. His shield could block a global catastrophe, and his hammer swings with the might of, well, not a lot. His charge attack, though, varies depending on who's using it. If I'm using it, I travel in a perfectly straight line and lean to the left or right purely for a visual effect, but if someone else uses it, suddenly they're a figure skater in the fucking Olympics doing pirouettes and shit. Roadhog might be the most vastly different character between me and somebody else out of everybody on this list. When I use the chain hook, it grabs opponents like it says on the tin, and then it drags them about 2 inches closer to me, far out of range of the follow-up insta-kill shotgun blast them other Roadhogs is doing. My shotgun has the impact of a bug on a windshield, while enemy Roadhog's got a death cannon in his hands. I'm just a fat piece of shit that lumbers around out of breath trying to wrap my hook around people's dicks. But everyone else is this in-shape bodybuilder with stamina and dreams, operating that whip like Wonder Woman. I'm blown away by the difference every time. I've only used Winston once in a real match. In my experience, using his L1 jump pack was impossible to aim and launch directly over most people's heads, but those pro Winstons on the other team pounded my head into the ground every time. When I use Primal Rage, I become berserk with my fists, but the other team just acts like a 3-year-old fell into my zoo enclosure and puts me the fuck down. Hashtag justice for Winston. I have basically no comment for Zarya, except that her shields are impenetrable on the other team while mine are butter, and she looks like if Justin Bieber was a transgender gym rat. Lucio's a rollerblading DJ freak that I cannot hit with any attack ever. Go away, Lucio. Your hair looks like Cheetos and your goggles are functionless. Mercy is best girl. I don't know where Symmetra is from, but my hard limit of 3 sentry turrets never seems to apply to the enemy Symmetras who fill entire stadiums with them. They also have a habit of building teleporters that spawn enemies directly up my ass, and I don't like that. And last but not least, well, maybe least, I don't know, is ZENYATTA, the homing Discord orb throwing bitch. When I get hit with a Discord orb, my health drops to 0.01 immediately, and every enemy attack is incapable of missing me. This hands-free healing is bullshit. How dare you multitask? Focus on one job like the rest of us. What, you think you're better than us because you have 3 more forehead dots than Krillin? Keep on firing those Rocket League balls at me, see if I care, you sad-faced robot emoji. You got no health for a reason. You a pussy bitch, bye-bye. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I hope you understand that I like to exaggerate my problems. And before you say, get good, I hate you, know that there's absolutely no value to you doing that. Nobody's ever heard someone say, get good, and then been like, oh my god, that was just the inspiration I needed to better myself. But thanks again. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys next time.